I'm not lucky, I'm loved. I'm not lucky, I'm loved. Happy March, y'all. It's the 1st of March. That song and a date coming up in a couple of weeks inspired the design of this shirt. And today's meals, yes, I said meals, are inspired by the date coming up in a couple of weeks. It's March. So a lot of people celebrate St. Patty's Day. I do because I like corned beef and cabbage. And that's what we're going to cook today. I'm going to cook corned beef 4 ways. Yes, 4 ways. So we're going to start with the first way. It's more of a, I guess, upscale way. Well, it's an upscale way to me. I have my corned beef right here. I'm going to take it out the package. And this is the dinner one. And yes, I'm starting it early in the day because it takes some time to cook. I took a knife and I opened it. And usually, well, I guess all the time in corned beef when I've gotten it, they have this little package in it. It's like a little seasoning package. But here is the corned beef, the brisket. And I'm going to rinse it off. I just been sitting in that red stuff you saw. Rinse it real good with cold water. And I'm just rubbing it. If I had more time, I would soak it, but for the sake of time, I'm just going to run the water on it for a couple of minutes. And rub it down a little bit. Let that rinse off. I'm going to throw the packaging away and I'll be right back. I'm going to put it in this mixing bowl. And fill it up with water and let it sit in that for a couple of minutes in cold water. I am going to let the corned beef brisket soak, and while that soaks, I'm going to work on meals 3 and 4. 2 and 3. Yeah, 2 and 3. It's sort of like a dinner. No, lunch. No. Breakfast and lunch. And the way I'm going to prepare the corned beef and the cabbage can be used for both breakfast and lunch. Okay. I should have got the other knife. Ooh. So when I cut my cabbage, I cut it in 4s because that's how I was taught. That's what I was brought up seeing. So that's what I do. Kind of half. I'm gonna cut this one in half, push it to the side, and I'm gonna cut this one in half. And then if you don't cut it in half evenly, the core gets, so this is the core, and I was brought up to take the core out. So I cut it at an angle to take the core out. Put that to the side. Here's the other piece of the core. At an angle, and cut it out until you don't see it anymore. And then you cut it like very finely. I've gotten better at doing it. I used to cut it real thick. But with a little practice, you want the sizes, you want each piece to be kind of the same size so it all cooks evenly. You don't want any burnt pieces. And usually with the leaves, take them, make it like a cigar, roll it up like a cigar. And no, I'm not an aficionado of rolling cigars. So roll it. And slice those. Push it to the side. And take this leaf that was on top. Usually there's a little core, a little vein. That's kind of bitter too, so I would take that out if it was bigger. There's usually bigger ones on a bigger cabbage, but I got a smaller cabbage. So I'm gonna roll this up like a cigar as well. And I did rinse it before I cut it. Did rinse my cabbage off before I cut it. So now I'm gonna go get the pot, and I'll tell you what next. Instead of bringing the pot to me, I came to the pot. So I'm gonna just put this in the pot. Put it all in there. Now I'm going to season my cabbage just a little bit because corned beef is salty. So I'm just going to season it a little bit. I am going to add pepper, even though we learned on an early episode, I'm not really a pepper person, but again, this is how I was taught and how I saw growing up. That was a little to me. It may have been a lot, but we'll see. And then I'm going to take some oil. take some oil. And put it in there. I'm using seasoned oil or already used oil if it's seasoned. But you can use fresh oil, canola, vegetable, whatever your choice, whatever your choice. Okay, that should be enough. Now I'm going to cover it, turn it on medium heat, and I'm going to just let it cook down. Now we're going to move back to the brisket. Now we're back at the brisket. It's been soaking for like 30 minutes. I'm going to dump that water. Over. And then I like to cook mine in a crock pot. A lot of people like to boil theirs because they feel like boiling it boils the salt out. I don't think so, in my opinion. And they add vinegar to it. I don't do all of that. Some people add carrots. Well, you'll see how I make mine. Some people add carrots to it, so I put the, let's go here, put in the crock pot. This is the crock pot. And I got another bag. I got a bag of potatoes. I'm gonna rinse those. I just drop them right inside. And then I have another cabbage. And I'm going to cut that one just like I cut the other one, and I'll be back. Okay, so now I'm back from cutting my second cabbage, but I misspoke a little bit. I did cut it like I did last time, but not all the way. I just cut it in the quarters, and I'm going to leave it whole, and I'm going to just put it in my crock pot on top. And I'm going to cover it. Now I'm going to add water. You can just use a regular cup of water. Preferably a bigger cup so it doesn't take you all day to fill up the crock pot. And you're going to cover it until it's almost covered, until the cabbage is almost covered. Just as long as the meat is covered, that's good. And you can move the cabbage around in the crevices where there's room, if there's room, to submerge it down into the water. Plug it in. Turn it on high. And I'm going to let it do its thing until it's almost done. So you'll know it's done. Oh, I forgot this. This is the seasoning for the meat. So sprinkle that in as well. Again, if you don't eat pork, if you don't eat beef, if you don't eat meat, you can I guess you can substitute this with another protein. I did try my best to substitute it using tofu, and I think it came out pretty good. The person I made it for, they ate it, so that's good enough for me. I'm gonna just, and I didn't use the seasoning that came in the package with the corned beef because I didn't want cross-contamination because they don't eat meat. So I looked up what the seasonings that is used to cook corned beef or make corned beef, or what's in the package. So I'll put those in the description. So again, put that in there, let it do its thing, start high, and we're good to go for that meal. I'm over at the other part of my cabbage, and it started sizzling, so I said, let me check it. I don't want it to get scorched or burned, so I am gonna toss it once over. So now I'm making rice. So I'm going to boil my water. And I have about a cup of rice. So I was always taught, I don't know if it's cup and a half more than how much rice I have. So that's what we're going to work with for right now. If I have to add more water, I'm going to add more hot water. I'm going to let this boil. I'm going to add some salt to it. You can add salt before it starts boiling. Some people add it when it starts boiling. And butter. Just a little scoop of butter. Put that in. I did check the cabbage one more time and give it another stir. So I'm going to let this water boil for the rice and be back when it boils, starts boiling. Okay, the cabbage is just about done to my likeness. So now I'm going to add the corned beef to it. This could be a little tricky. So here's the corned beef. The other corned beef, other kind of corned beef. So this key comes like this, on it like this. So you take it off, turn it upside down, and you turn it against itself. Gotta be real. Okay. Sometimes you gotta play with it to know which way you gotta do it. So I'm glad it worked this time. Because sometimes it don't work and then you're like stuck. But I guess it didn't want to embarrass me this time. Oh, did I speak too soon? And a lot of time when I tell people corned beef, they be like, corned beef hash? No, There's a difference. Corned beef is corned beef. Corned beef hash is corned beef hash. Corned beef is just the beef. Corned beef hash is corned beef with hash in it. Hash is the little cubes of potatoes. Okay, almost done. There we go. Not very appetizing. Doesn't look very appetizing, but it is. Now we're gonna go back over to the cabbage. All right. That burnt. That's all right. Yeah, this is just about done. So I'm going to add my corned beef. It was a little on the bottom. Don't want to waste. And I'm going to squeeze it out of this bottle. Or out of this can. Shake, 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 shake. And now I'm going to cut it up. Or technically it is cooked. So putting it in here is just cooking it through and warming it up. You can turn it off. You can turn the oven off, the stove off. And just mash it. Just mash it up. And incorporate it. And it sounds like my water's boiling for my rice. So I'm going to drop that as well. Yep. I'm going to just put my rice in there. Whoop. Now I'm going to let that cook down. I stir this. And one of the meals that I'm making, I was talking to my father a couple weeks ago, and he called it a poor man's dish. Well, it's the best poor man's dish I've ever had. One of my favorites. So. So this is how it looks, all incorporated together, the corned beef and the cabbage. I'm just going to let this sit while I wait for the other components to cook. This next part gets a little messy. That's why I have an apron on now. We're making fritters. I guess you would call them Jamaican fritters. I guess, I don't know. I just know them as fritters. Where they originated from? Me growing up and eating them. So I really don't have a measurement for them. So I'm going to take this cup and I'm going to fill it with this flour. I'm gonna dump it. And it's very simple ingredients. Flour, baking powder, salt, and water. Then I'm gonna take this half a cup and sprinkle this baking powder in it. Ooh! Uh-oh. And put that in there. Sprinkle some salt. And some water. Oh, I need a spoon. And we're going to put the water in it. And we're going to stir with a fork. That's what I was told, with a fork. I think I put too much baking powder in it. It dumped in it. It fell in it. It's just going to rise more. You have to put more water in it. It's not sticky enough. It has to be gummy. You heard that? It has to be gummy. I'll put more water in it. Now it feels like it's too loose. I eat them, but we don't eat it often, so every time I make it, I have to ask for assistance. I'm going to add some more flour because it's too loose now. All right, there we go. I think it's getting to the consistency I want. I'm putting some more flour. I want it to be tacky, almost like dough, almost like what's that stuff? What's that white stuff that you put on the balloons that we used to make when we were kids? I can't think of the name of it. But you want it to be that consistent, between that consistency and dough. Whew. And when you make these, you can skip arm day because it is an arm workout. So this should be the consistency. I have put some oil in a cast iron pot, and just waiting for it to get hot. To test if the water is hot, you can sprinkle it with a little water, and if it does that, that means it's ready. So I'm going to take a little on my fork. And the way I would describe them as unformed, messy biscuits, because they will rise and open up like a biscuit. I'm gonna get a spoon. All right, I told you it was messy. And drop it in. You don't want to crowd the pan, because if you crowd it, that lowers the temperature. And you want them to get a little brown on the bottom. And you just have to guesstimate and estimate of when it's time to turn it. You don't want it burnt, but you want it brown enough and cooked through. So now I'm going to test. I think this is the first one I put in. There we go. Yay! So I would say about a minute, minute and a half, 2 minutes on each side. Now I'm going to get a bowl, and I'm going to get some paper towels to let the oil drain on it. If you have a cookie sheet, you can put it on there as well to let the oil drip off of it. You don't want to eat that excess oil. I'm just going to put it in there. Just going to pick it up from the oil, let it drain, and let it drain there as well. Let it drain, and let it drain there as well. Let it drain, and let it drain there as well. I'm going to make some more, and I'll be back. I'm now on my last batch. Here's all the fritters. I would say it's almost like fried dough too. But here's my last batch. When these finish, we'll do some assembling. This is everything finished cooking. And now I'm just gonna assemble a plate. Alright, I'm going to start with what is traditionally eaten first in the day, and fritters are usually eaten in the morning. So I'm going to get a fritter. I don't want that one. I don't want that one. I don't want that one. Okay, I want that one. I'm going to break it open. Look at all that doughy goodness. Look at all that doughy goodness. Look at it. Nice and soft. Then you take some of the cabbage and corned beef mixture, and you put it on. I'm not doing a very good job, but I have the camera in my hand, so hey, I'm making it work. I'll use my hands. It's my plate. I'm gonna fold it over. And then, remember I told you about that poor man's dish? Usually eat rice with corned beef and cabbage like this for a lunch meal, or you can eat it for dinner. Just gonna get some cabbage, some rice, a dollop of rice. And I'm gonna put a dollop of corned beef and cabbage on top. And that's it. It's so good. And the reason I'm doing this, and the reason why I love corned beef and cabbage so much, is because growing up I ate it. It was a comfort food, and I was always told that I have Irish blood in me. And come to find out years later, my great grandmother on my father's side, his mother's mother, his family was traced back to Ireland. So there you go. So I have it on is that I like my corned beef and cabbage. The fine dining corned beef and cabbage is still going, so we'll come back when that is finished. So this is the brisket, the corned beef brisket. It usually shrinks, but this one didn't, I guess because it didn't have a lot of fat, but this is fat. But it did have more meat than fat, so that's good. Let's see. The cabbage is tender. And there's a potato. And the potato is fork tender. So I can turn it off and let it rest before I cut into it. So I decided not to cut it. I'm not going to eat it now. So there it is. Corned beef, cabbage, and red potatoes. Dig in. I know I said corned beef 4 ways, but it's been a long day, so I think I'm just going to do the 3 ways. I hope you enjoyed this video. See you next week. Get into it. Good.